Hello everyone, it's Jonathan here, founder of Driving Academy, and today we're going to be giving you an inspection of the actual Class B bus here. So today's video we're going to be going over extreme detail on how to do a proper air brake test and cap check engine start for your actual CDL Class B bus. Here right now we're at our Jackson, New Jersey location, our first franchise location, going through their vehicle right now just to show you how to do a proper air brake test inspection on a Class B bus itself. So if you are looking to get yourself a CDL license, you've got to come to Driving Academy because we're going to help you get yourself on the road to freedom. And in order to do that, you're going to have to pass a 2.5 hour long road test at the local DMV or at our third-party testing site. And the cool thing about the road test is it's split into 3 different parts. The first part of the test is usually the hardest, and that's where you're going to have to know how to do an inspection both on the inside and on the outside of the vehicle. So today's video is going to show you all about the inside inspection if you want to get yourself a CDL Class B with a passenger endorsement on your license. So when it comes to the first part of the test is first thing we have to do, since it's going to be an automatic vehicle, we're going to have to check the wheels. So in order to do that, we're going to have to take the key with us, then we're going to have to exit the vehicle accordingly. So we're going to be taking my wheel chucks here, and I'll be right back. So because this wheel is actually behind the door, the way to properly do the wheel chucks is you're going to have one in front of the wheel and one behind the wheel. Because it is an automatic vehicle, whether you're doing a bus or a tractor trailer, it's the same exact thing, because we would want the vehicle to move while we're actually testing the brakes itself. So let's come back inside, make sure we have 3 points of contact. Once we know that it's safe, we're then going to close the door to stop that buzzing sound. We're then going to perform what we call a safe start. So a safe start has 3 different parts to it. First, we have to make sure the key is in the on position. That's going to get all of our gauges to start working properly, right? Once we see the N in neutral, that means that's the second part. Make sure the vehicle is in neutral. And the third part of the safe start is to make sure that the brakes are pulled out. And these are our parking brakes that are here, which means they're pulled out. So now we're actually able to start the engine. Boom, and now she started. So now once the engine is started, we're going to be looking at our air pressure gauge, and the first step is to actually build up the air pressure to 120 to 145 psi, or until we hear the sneeze. So in this vehicle in particular, the engine is actually all the way in the back, and so are the air tanks. So it might take a little bit of very good hearing to actually hear the sneeze, but what we're going to do is we can just wait if we wanted to, or we can actually speed up the process along by giving it some gas. When you give it gas, it's going to raise the RPMs, which means the engine is going to work faster, which means it's going to pump more air into the tank itself. But when you are giving it gas, make sure you keep it below 1500 RPMs. Anything more than that, you're just causing more stress on the engine for no reason, and you're spending gas. And according to the gas prices now, you want to save all the money you can, right? So I'm giving it some gas. We're actually building up. We're getting close to our full pressure, and we're going to be waiting for the sneeze. Now during your test, there you go, it just sneezed. So now that we know that the air tanks are full, we're then going to shut the truck off to kill the engine. And it's super important that the engine is off during this part. Then you're going to turn the key back to the on position. Another very, very important part. You have no idea how many times that this little key has failed an individual simply because they forgot to turn it back on. Then you're going to push in the brakes here. Once we push in these parking brakes, it's actually going to take air from the air tank and push it through all the brake hoses and brake chambers, and that's going to make the air pressure gauge actually drop a little bit. So once the air pressure gauge is actually stable and it's not moving anymore, now we're going to take out our watch and we're going to wait 1 full minute, and we cannot lose more than, in the Class B vehicle, 2 psi. Right? So just for the purposes of this video, we won't have to wait the whole minute and bore you just watching my face on the screen. So we're going to move on to the next step. So we're going to assume that the minute has passed, and we're going to say, well, minute has passed. With my foot's not on the brake, I did not lose more than 2 psi. Now the next part is we have to do an applied brake test. So I'm going to put my foot on the brake. I'm going to look at my air pressure, make sure it stabilizes. And then I'm going to wait 1 minute again, and I cannot lose more than 3 psi. So now with my foot on the brake, I'd wait my 1 minute. We're going to assume that the minute has passed already. I cannot lose more than 3 psi. On your road test itself, make sure you actually bring a stopwatch. You can take out your phone if you need to use the timer, and make sure you wait the full minute. You cannot pass through this part. If you mess one of these steps up on the test, it can be an automatic failure, so you definitely don't want that to happen. The next step is, now that the minute has passed, we did not lose more than 3 psi. We're then going to check the low warning signal, which means we're going to pump on the brake, and we're going to see our psi actually start to drop. Once we get to around 60 psi, we're going to see a light and or a buzzer. So right here is this light here. As you can see, this red light. Some vehicles have a light and a buzzer, some vehicles just have a light, some vehicles just have a buzzer. So as long as you have at least a light there, you're good to go. The next step, I'm going to keep pumping until it gets down to 40 to 20 psi. And then what's going to happen is the brake is going to pop out. That's going to let me know that the emergency brake system is actually working properly. And there you go, you heard that pop, so now we're good to go. So that is actually the first step of the air brake test. We tested to make sure that the air compressor is working, because we built it all the way to 120, right? After that, we made sure that there's no leaks in the lines itself, because we shut the engine off. We pushed the brake in to make sure that all the lines and everything were good, and there was no leaks, because we waited those minutes. And then over here, we wanted to make sure that the emergency system is working properly as well. So now I'm going to go out there, get the wheel chucks, and then we'll get to the next part, which is the in-cab inspection. I'll be right back. It's going to be a safe start, so same type of thing. Turn the key on, let the dashboard work, make sure we are neutral, make sure the brake is applied, and then I'm going to start the engine again. So there you go, the engine is now started. So now we're going to have the air pressure build up to 120 psi. In the meantime of us waiting for the air pressure to build up to 120 psi, we're actually going to be performing an in-cab inspection. So there's a few things on the inside of the vehicle that we have to inspect to make sure they are working correctly. So first thing, you can go in any order that you want. This is just the order that I'm choosing to go to today. We're going to check the horn, as the horn is clearly working. Next, we're going to check our light indicators. So our left turn signal is working, our right turn signal is working, our four-way flashers are working. Also, our high beams and our headlights are also working as well. And here we're checking the indicators on the inside itself, right? After that, we can check our windshield. So our windshield is clean, has no illegal stickers, and free from cracks. My mirrors are adjusted properly to my seating view here. And then every bus is going to have a little bit different of a check itself. Things might be in a little different area, but one thing that you do have to check is going to be your heater and defroster. So I'm going to turn on my heater and defroster, and I can see that they are working properly. The next thing I'm going to be checking is going to be my gauges. So I'm going to make sure my oil pressure gauge is working properly. My water temperature gauge is actually working properly. Max can be 200 degrees. My actual voltmeter gauge is actually working properly. It has to be charging, and my air pressure gauge is building to 120 psi. Right? After that, I'm going to be checking my wipers. So my wipers, arms and blades are smooth and are working properly, secure, and operate smoothly, as you can see here. During the test, it is super important that you actually turn on the vehicle, or else you don't really know if they're working or not, right? So that pretty much covers everything when it comes to everything inside here. We check the lights, we check the horn, we check the gauges, and all the other stuff as well. Now, the other thing, while we are here, we're going to be checking the emergency equipment. So in this bus in particular, all the emergency equipment is actually inside that compartment. There's going to consist of fire extinguisher, 3 reflective triangles, and 6 spare fuses. The extra thing that we also have to check on the bus is going to be the passenger entry. So over here we're going to have our door. It opens and closes smoothly from the inside. We're going to have our steps are free of any foreign objects and debris. Handrails are secure. And my step light is actually working when my lights are on as well. So that's super important on the bus. So now, we haven't built up to 120 yet, but now we've pretty much checked everything here. We're going to shut the engine off. I'll close that door. And then turn the key to the on position to make sure that the batteries are working correctly. And here we're going to actually be checking everything else inside the vehicle itself. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to come across here. We're going to be checking the seats. So we're going to make sure that the seats, cushions are attached to the frame, and the frame is attached to the floor. So here we're going to be checking all the seats itself, and we're going to have our emergency exit doors. So depending on what your bus looks like, you might have a window, you might have a door like this, and pretty much what you want to do, you're going to open it up, make sure that the buzzer is working, close it back up, and do so itself, right? So we're going to have a few different exits here. We do the same thing for the back window, the same thing for this window, and we're also going to have a roof hatch as well. Every bus is going to be a little bit different. You want to make sure that you're checking the emergency hatches on all those vehicles. So that's what you would check on the inside itself. But let's get back to the seat. Alright, so now that we're back at the seat, we're going to do another safe start, which means that the brakes are on, we're in neutral, and we're just going to turn on the engine. And now we're going to do one final check, which is going to be our seatbelt. So we're going to make sure that our seatbelt is working properly. It has no cuts or frays on the seatbelt itself, and it latches properly. So we're going to be making sure everything works okay. As you can see, it latches and unlatches properly. Latches and unlatches properly. So for this next part, since we are going to be moving the bus, we're going to need to have the seatbelt on itself. So now that we've done the in-cab inspection, we can tell the examiner that that concludes my in-cab inspection. And now we're going to be doing what we call the tug test. So the tug test is pretty simple. Now that our air pressure is back up to 120 psi, we're going to make sure that the parking brakes are actually working. And we're going to make sure that the foot brake is going to work correctly as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put your foot on the brake, put it in drive, especially because we're in automatic, with the parking brake still engaged. We're then going to come off the foot brake, give it some gas, and we can't move. So I'm giving it gas and we're not moving at all, which means that the parking brake is working correctly. Next part is we're going to push in the brake, we're going to keep it in drive, we're going to pull up about 5 to 10 feet, and then we're going to put our foot on the foot brake itself, holding the steering wheel nice and slightly, and we're going to put our foot on the brake, and we came to a full stop. The steering wheel did not move to one side or the other, which means that my service brakes are working properly. From there, you would engage the parking brake again, put the vehicle in neutral, shut the engine off, and tell the examiner I have completed the cab check, engine start, and air brake test. And if you follow everything that I just did here, if you want to get yourself a CDL Class B with passenger endorsement, you'll pass this part of the test, no problem. But if you want hands-on training from the best truck driving school in the entire country, and possibly the entire world, you want to visit our website at CDLDrivingAcademy.com and find a location that's near you. Like I said, today we're actually at our Jackson, New Jersey location. So if you're local to this area, make sure you call this number below, so then they can actually help you out with one of their very certified instructors who will help you hands-on and get you going with all this. But until we see each other in person, my wish is that you get yourself on your road to freedom. And one more time, give our team a call here in Jackson, New Jersey, or visit our website at CDLDrivingAcademy.com. Again, that's CDLDrivingAcademy.com. Thanks, and have a great day. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure you hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel. It's really going to help us out. Click on that button. And if you want to continue yourself on your road to freedom, here's more videos to watch. There's endless amounts, and hopefully we get to see each other one day very soon. Thanks.